Good afternoon, both outside and Cuba 5 and the USA 4 with 3 bouts remaining.
And Charlie, if form holds up, Oscar De La Hoya has not lost in 4 years. This very well could be a tie match in a few minutes.
Julio Gonzales against Oscar De La Hoya of the United States, 132 pounds, the tail of the tape.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's give an 18-hour for 166.
Jump out at you here, Charlie. De La Hoya only 18 years of age, but 5 feet 11 inches tall for a 132-pounder. A big advantage if he can use it.
In the red corner, from Cuba, Julio Gonzales.
At times, I said, do you remember the last time you lost? Here it was. Julio Gonzales. And he has a record of 268-20. I'm Charlie Jones, along with Wally Matthews. I'm substituting for Bob Trumpy, who normally would be here. His son Jason, graduating from Blue Ridge Boys School this afternoon, St. George, Virginia. And Bob Trumpy is the commencement speaker.
Left hook. De La Hoya trains with professionals and fights like a professional, which does not always work that well in amateur boxing because of the scoring methods, but you notice that when he lands, there's a big effect.
De La Hoya, Garfield High School, that's East Los Angeles. Looks forward to a career as a professional boxer. Also wants to be an architect and to design homes.
And he's quite a young man to come from that kind of an environment where some of the most ferocious gangs in L.A. roam the streets. And he credits his father as a shipping and receiving clerk for an air conditioning company with keeping him away from all of the other things that could happen. In the meantime, he's having a really rough time penetrating the long reach, although the undetermined reach, of Julio Gonzales. Gonzales at 5'7", he's 25 years old. He won the World Championship in '89. He won the World Cup in '87 and the Pan Am gold medal in '87. Julio Gonzales looks taller than 5'7" to me. Maybe that's part of the strategy too, to tell us he's 5'7" when he's really 6'2". Right now, De La Hoya stalking Gonzales and not really being effective with the exception of that left hook he landed early. De La Hoya, the U.S. champion this year and the champion last year at 125 pounds. Gold medalist in the Goodwill Games at 125. But for all De La Hoya's credentials, we have to remember he is an 18-year-old fighting a 25-year-old man, and that can make a difference. There's a redness alongside the left eye of De La Hoya. I don't think it's a cut, but there's certainly a scrape on the inside of his headgear. And we come to the end of round one. And things started off with a bang for Oscar De La Hoya. This big left hook staggered Julio Gonzales momentarily, but the rest of the round belonged to the reach and boxing ability of the Cuban. And we're in round two. For De La Hoya, he says this is the first time for him to fight the Cubans, but it's no big deal because in East Los Angeles he fights Cubans all the time. I bet not too many of them can fight like Gonzales. That's right. And now you notice that De La Hoya is starting to work the body a bit. This is more of his fight. He has to realize that he's got to slow Gonzales down a bit. And Gonzales is the archetype of the Cuban boxer in my mind, Charlie. Tall, lanky, apparently lightly built for the weight, which allows them to move in and out easily. And I'll tell you what, they grow into the bigger weight classes very gracefully.
And the most famous of Cuban boxers ever is right here, and he's at ringside. Teofilo Stevenson, of course, with the 3 gold medals. Talked to him yesterday, and I asked him about, he's 39. I said, you know what, you can still turn professional in the United States as a heavyweight. He said it would take 2 years. I'd have to fight 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, 10 rounds. He kind of smiled and shook his head like, no, he wasn't interested. And I said, probably make $25 million. And the smile got bigger, but I don't think he's really interested.
Well, you know, he turned down a $5 million offer about 12 years ago to fight Muhammad Ali. So he was a man of principles then. I don't know if $25 million will compromise your principles, but I believe him when he says he's not going to come out.
Stevenson also told me he felt that 5 of the Cubans here could win a gold medal in Barcelona. That's strong a team.
That would be quite a accomplishment for the Cubans. The team has not competed in the Olympics since 1976. Meanwhile, De La Hoya is still having trouble penetrating that reach of Gonzales. And you can see right there the way Gonzales was able to push De La Hoya back a step or 2 in the jab. When De La Hoya came back to counter, the Cuban was out of range. What Gonzales is doing right now is classic Cuban boxing. Straight left jab followed by a stiff right hand. That's what Stevenson became famous with.
Caution for holding against De La Hoya. The end of round 2. £132, round 3, Oscar De La Hoya and Julio Gonzales of Cuba.
And De La Hoya has got to swarm all over Gonzales here if he has any chance to win this fight, Charlie. I think Gonzales won the first 2 rounds, and De La Hoya has been unable to score like that throughout the first 6 minutes of action. De La Hoya loading up on that left hand, hoping to hurt Gonzales with 1 punch so that he can leap in with a flurry.
Not stepping back, a caution. Another look at Teofilo Stevenson. I asked him about could he have won the 4th gold medal if the Cubans would have come to the Olympics in Los Angeles. And he said yes, and he gave me a complete rundown of everything that happened in the 84 games.
Gonzales being rocked in a corner by De La Hoya, who finally slowed his man down. Now, Charlie, that brings up a point that I made before. The Cubans and the United States have not met in an Olympics since '76. The Cubans, of course, did compete in Moscow in 1980.
And that's where Stevenson won his 3rd gold. Now, here's the situation. The Cubans lead 5-4. 3 bouts left, including this one. We're at the midway point in the 3rd round. And Oscar De La Hoya needs a strong finish. He has not lost in 4 years.
He is rallying well in this round, Charlie. I just don't know if it will be enough to overcome the points lead. I believe Gonzales built up in the first 2.
And the experience of 25-year-old Julio Gonzales. He won the gold medal in the Pan Am Games back in 1987.
There's that left hook again from De La Hoya. First to the head, then to the body. And Gonzales was holding on there for a second. Gonzales now wisely staying away. He realizes that he is most likely ahead on the scorecards, and he has been stung in this round. He does not want to get careless.
Holding a caution against Cuba. Their 2nd caution. 3 cautions, it costs him a point. Ducking low, caution, United States. the end of the bout. Oscar De La Hoya trying to come from behind unofficially. And we'll be back in a few moments with the results. Don't go away. We're back now for the decision, 132-pound division.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a 2-1 split decision. The winner in the blue corner, Oscar De La Hoya.
So that means it is a tie. Cuba 5, the United States 5. 2 bouts remaining. 16th time. A dual meet between USA and Cuba. The United States has never won.
And this match is, in fact, the best performance the U.S. team has ever done against Cuba. 5 wins in a dual meet.